This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Just doing things, looking at things and how the situation, political situation is unfolding.
Yes.
That's it, really.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see this.
You're glad to see Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse, may God bless you. You're the one who gave me the strength in this country.
Yeah.
You are very polite to me when I first started. When the world, the media pushed me aside, Jesse held my hand. May God bless you.
God bless you, Prof.
Gotta love it.
Good to meet you.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Professor, you are seated on the hot seat. But before that, every week we usually go to a different African country. Today we are in Djibouti. They just voted in the president for the sixth time. The gentleman got over 97% of the vote. We talk about it being a country that relies mostly on its port. Over 76% of GDP is driven by the port and logistics activities, acting as the main sea access to Ethiopia. But the proverb that we do get from the people of Djibouti says, words are shared and meat is shared as well. How would you interpret it?
Can you come again?
Words are shared and meat is shared. Nyama.
Wherever there's a conversation, especially where meat is, meat eaters are, obviously they will be happy they're eating meat. Put Maasai's together with the meat. Let me give a synopsis of Maasai's hunting lions. They're very aggressive and abrasive. They're looking for a lion, they want to kill it, and therefore their life is in danger at that particular time. But let's turn it on the other side and say that they are now having a feast. They're celebrating something. They've killed a lion and they're sharing meat. Definitely, the two scenarios, if you compare, you'll find out that one has agony and one has memorable celebration kind of. So they're celebrating meat. So when you're eating, you're talking.
Yeah, I agree. So it's also just in terms of the African culture where many meet to just have discussions, talk over issues, and after that a cup of tea, meet, and you just celebrate as well. It's part and parcel of the culture. Professor, Kenya is an interesting country. We find ourselves in crossroads today. Kenyans woke up to the fuel increase in fuel prices today, 206 for both fuel, for both petrol and diesel. And one asks the question: did you see this coming, and did we prepare for it?
Good question with wrong answers from me. My answers are coiled in the word sustainability, sustainable approach. We should be living 50 years ahead of time. I, as an individual from the academic field, I'm not looking of the Kenya of yesterday.
Yes.
I'm ahead of Kenya 50 years from where we were since we got our independence. And as of from today, looking at Kenya, if we took 50 years ahead of us today, we're not calibrating on issues of fuel lies and fuel crisis, fuel price shocker, because of wrong policies, wrong and ghetto policies that are manufactured in a favorable environment, with stakeholders sitting down to see how they can parage and benefit from the oil industry. The question I have to pose to you is, who actually are the stakeholders in the oil industry today, given the fact that you have the world crisis which has come as a result of the Iran issue? Who owns rubies? Which family owns Starbucks? And which family owns the oil gas, Afrogas? Then you get the questions. It's an issue of monopoly and interests. But have they looked into sustainability? We will not have even these issues. We plan ahead. And we look at it that way. Yes.
Because many would look at the fuel situation in the country, and let me just take you through the kind of taxes that Kenyans are paying today in terms of fuel. So the value-added tax is at 16%. So it was reintroduced fully in 2023 from 8 to 16%. And we have the excess duty where petrol is 21 shillings and 95 cents per litre, diesel 11 shillings and 37 shillings per litre, 37 cents per litre, and the kerosene at 11.37. You go to other fuel levies, petroleum development levy, road maintenance levy, railway development levy, petroleum regulatory levy, anti-adulteration levy, anti-adulteration levy. Yet we find that individuals who brought fuel in the country, in the scandal that we see today, is because that fuel has not met the requirements and the grade that is set for Kenya. Do we have political goodwill, Professor, in serving Kenyans and ensuring that each and every single service that they do required is up to par as per the Constitution and as per the policies that we do have?
First of all, we don't know what the policies are. But all in all, before going into a lot of rhetoric, let me draw your attention to companies like Kashiwazaki, Kariwa nuclear power plant in Japan, which is run by Tokyo Electric Power Plant Holdings. You'll find out that that company produces 8.2 guitars. That company alone in Japan, whereas Kenya produces 3.84 guitars. And how many companies in Japan alone, as tiny as it is, are given the monopoly? The issue with Kenya is monopoly and the oil barons. Starbucks owned by Ruto, Ruby's owned by the Uhuru Kenyatas, and the other gas companies owned by the Railas. What do you expect? If you look at those other companies outside the country, you'll find out that this issue of this levy, that levy, this levy, that levy does not exist. If you look at the Constitution is very clear. It talks of rights and economic rights. Economic rights are economic rights which are fundamental, not privileges. These rights are constituted in the preamble of the Constitution, which means that you cannot touch on those rights without first of all referring to the people, the very, very people in the preamble. Now, when they are raising these taxes through these policies that we do not know, have they asked the people? My alternative would be, and this is why I said I'm living 50 years ahead of Kenya in terms of economic development. We look at the industrial hemp as a solution. Industrial hemp as a solution. And to those who are listening to me now in this studio, you can Google top 5 countries leading in industrial hemp production. With the industrial hemp production, which Burkina Faso is the first country in Africa that have taken that route, you'll find out that the issue of reliance on the Middle East should be an issue of the past. One thing that you'll never find in brackets is Israel. Does Israel import oil? Find out where it does. Or how does Israel survive? Israel and China fully relies. China relies on imported oil. Israel has got its own systems of producing oil. And if I may look at the 5 top countries that are involved in industrial hemp, you find out that China tops the list, followed by India, USA, Canada, and Netherlands. And if you look at the market values, you look at the production statistics, production volumes, you find of the strengths and regulatory protocols, you'll find that the people who are the consumers in that particular environment are the people who actually make or contribute towards policy which is reviewable by their own mandated organs. Look at France, for example. France is leading in hemp production, of which it produces 50%. Now, if Kenya, for example, produced hemp, then we will not rely on imports because we shall have our own fuel, we shall have our own gas made out of hemp, because our soils, from what I said before, when I first said that I was running for president, has come to pass today. Why would we be fighting for importing oil from the Arab countries with the middlemen, with the monopoly of people like Kenya Pipeline, whose corruption scandals have been increasing day in, day out? Look at the fuel shortages in this country. Why would we be talking of fuel shortages, yet we could have, if we could have grown hemp, would have reached very far? For example, now wacha niongee kwa Kiswahili kidogo, wale wafuasi wangu wa Kiswahili wasikie. Sasa hapa tunaenda Kisii kutengeneza bangi. Bangi, of course, kwa Kiswahili ndio hemp kwa Kiingereza. Tunatengeneza mafuta, gari yenyewe ni ya hemp. Tumetengeneza gari from the hemp byproducts, bangi. Tunavuna hiyo bangi, tunatengeneza mafuta yetu, tunaweka kwa hiyo gari. Dereva pia yuko hapo, naendesha hiyo. So tunafanya vitu mara moja, sitaki kwenda tu in detail. So we are talking of hemp industrialization.
You know, when you talk about hemp industrialization, Jesse, before you come in, one of the products that you talk about is biodiesel from hemp, which is received from the seeds. And based off what I'm just reading is the oil can be processed into biodiesel similar to sunflower, soybean, and can power diesel engines with little or no modification. So when you talk about alternatives, you know, there is that conversation on, even as we look for alternatives, professors talked about looking at nuclear energy, you know, we are talking about electric cars, right? What are we doing to ensure that we have sufficient power to not only just power industries today that are depending on diesel, but if we have enough energy in the country today, perhaps these industries would switch to using electricity, Jesse?
And Prof, I'd like to interrogate your advocate brain, because at the end of the day, we have an oil importation scandal that has rocked the nation since the Easter weekend. Little semblance in terms of prosecution. And I just want to find out if, because they say the wheels of justice grind, but they grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. That exceedingly fine part is in contention right now. What do you make of the fight against graft? Because this administration has promised time and time again to fight cartels, to stamp out corruption in the country. As a matter of fact, they passed a Conflict of Interest Act not too long ago to strengthen the fight against graft. Are we serious about the fight against graft? Is the criminal justice system up to the task in terms of stamping out this vice?
If you look at what we call the psychic defeat theory, psychic defeat theory in criminal justice, for which I just got my second PhD recently, you'll find out that the methodologies of crime prevention in this country are just on paper, but on paper. What we are proposing is harsher penalties. Harsher penalties. If you go to China, we have the death penalty on corruption. If you go to Afghanistan, they have the best method, and Roots Party will borrow from Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, if you're found to have involved yourself in corruption, they will give you the right. You'll have to pass through the justice mechanism. And if you're found guilty, definitely, they will hang you upside down. Just like they hanged the former president of Afghanistan. Hanging these people is the only solution. Introduction of death penalty will only be the solution, and that's why we in Roots Party are advocating. Forget about the human rights. Human rights is synonymous to corruption. We sing it every day and we play the opposite every day. So with all this that has been going on for the last 60 years, finding people who have been arrested by the EACC, finding some of them, their charges being dropped when they're appointed, to sing the tunes of President Ruto. I mean, this is all rhetoric. We shall start with Ruto himself. Let us try Ruto. Let us find out how he has amassed this wealth and why nobody's talking about it. Let us find out why Ruto's regime, people in Ruto's regime are not even talking about corruption. Let's find out why people like these people involved in the fuel scandal, why they resigned and no action has been taken. Why should we even have jails in this country, for God's sake? Why should we have the court system? As we are having a very serious approach. The Uhuru government, those who served in Uhuru government should be held accountable for corruption. And Ruto is playing it safe, and that's why Ruto has also backed up this. Corruption never rots. Corruption. Wale ambao waliiba wakati wa Uhuru Kenyatta, wale ambao wanaiba na Ruto sahi, wale ambao waliiba wakati wa Moi, all these people should be brought to book. And if 10 of them are hanged, we shall have a corrupt-free country. When I take over, for example, coming back to your question, this constitution here, we shall have to go back to seek, to ask Kenyans to review the constitution, because some of it was copied and pasted. We are not ripe for that kind of blue paper which has the judicial aspect, alafu tunasema to constitution nini. Hapana, wizi umezidi nchi hii. For example, now if you look at people like us who advocate for changes in this country, you'll find out that we are given a very small kind of attention. I'm just telling Kenyans that time has come where wananchi should take the law in their own hands. If they find that you've stolen and the courts are not going to be favorable to you, let the Kenyans try these thieves in the open.
Yeah.
That's the only way, because the preamble allows that. If you look at the physiology in the preamble of we the people, let's take the law in our own hands. How would we be looking at SHA, for example? That, how is it called? SHA, what is the full abbreviation? Look at the mess.
Authority.
Look at the mess in hospitals today, and nobody's talking about it. Look at, come on. I feel like crying when it comes to these issues of corruption. Those who have stolen in this country, Kenyans should round them up. They should not make them sleep. Ukiwa ni mwizi umetoka Mumias na tunajua ni mwizi, utakuja kulala Mumias nini? Let them start with me. Let them not sleep. Because Ruto has failed. The regime has failed.
Yeah. Professor, when we talk about the wheels of justice and how it is moving, there is the issue of, I'll give an example. EACC during the election period comes up with reports and says individual XYZ is not fit to hold office. They should not be cleared. That's their report. That report is forwarded to IEBC for clearance. But IEBC goes forward and says, we will clear this individual because the Constitution, I think it's Article 90, allows one to explore all the avenues of appeal until that time when he finishes that. So you find individuals who in the face of things, because they're being investigated, not suitable because of EACC have said so, they still get cleared and get elected. Is it about time that we relooked at what EACC reports mean, and that it's about time we gave it power, that once EACC says you're not fit, it ends there? IEBC, DCI, whether you're cleared by them or not, once a single body in that chain says no, you do not run for office. But we do not want to do that because that has to go through Parliament. We have to amend the Constitution. And because you find, unfortunately, majority of these corruption cases involve them. The reason why it's not being passed, would you reckon?
First of all, I'll give you examples. Recently, there was the broad-based arena, where 5 people were cleared by the EACC. Oparanya had a case with the EACC. Alikimbia huko kupewa certificate. Aisha Jumwa was alleged to have murdered somebody. Alikimbia huko akapewa certificate. Wale wengine walikuwa kina nani? Opiyo Wandayi at that time was scandal free. Right now, of course, you can see he's been embedded in the scandal. We're just tired of that rhetoric. Hii kitu ya EACC, wacha niwaambie wakisikia kwamba nikitake over, they will be responsible for a lot of things. Because Chapter 6 is very clear. Chapter 6.
Yes.
In England, it's by questionnaire. When I was running as Member of Parliament for Tottenham, I failed to satisfy in the questionnaire form. Wanakuuliza jina, if you're married, name of the wife, children, do you owe any debts? Bring that report from the debt collection agency or what have you. If you have had a criminal record, una mention. If it's pending, you get disqualified there because you are not fit until you are rich.
Yeah.
And mine was very simple. Are you married? Yes. Marriage certificate. Sikuwa nayo. That's how I lost to David Lammy, the current Deputy Prime Minister in UK, as MP for Tottenham. So, when it comes to issues of integrity, those should be the fabric of society. Where you have been involved in a scandal, clear that scandal first. Come back and say, I was cleared, not because it is pending. Look at the Kidero issue. Look at Mumia's Sugar Company. We are forgetting all these things, and now people are camouflaging themselves into political rhetoric by singing songs of, Kenya is at a death row, crossroad. Things have gone bad. What do we do with corruption? And the whole thing is just around corruption. People are now running into UDA to take refuge because they have had scandals. And that's why I'm looking at them. I'm not saying I'm not running, I'm running for president, but we are studying these people. So the EACC, sijui nini vitu yote ni optics. Ambazo zilitengenezwa mzuri zikawekwa hapo. All those things nitatoa away. I want a military kind of based tribunal. I have very serious faith in the Kenya Army. Those tribunals should actually be headed by men from the barracks, because they are no nonsense. Commingle with raia, mama mboga, just like a jury. Lakini ukichukua mtu anaenda huko anaomba through political rhetoric ndio apewe kiti aende kwa EACC commission. And the person himself is very corrupt. You want to tell me that those EACC commissioners are not corrupt? We shall investigate them and time will come.
I'd like your take on Kenya's current political landscape, because you've mentioned you'll be running for president. Many question the space of a third force as we look at the top political actors in the country. We have the broad-based government. The working relationship between UDA and ODM has sort of weathered the storm, even though there's infighting within ODM party. I'd like your take on that, because there's a push for zoning. Others say we want the deputy president's position. Even as Sifuna's camp maintains that one term is a reality. At the end of the day, what's the space for a third force this time around compared to 2022 general election, where you're trying to, stand out from the crowd? And what do you make of that working relationship between ODM and UDA? Equally, what are the chances of this united opposition to actually, break out and make this one-term thing a reality, even as they try give other alternatives to the issues that the current Kenya Kwanza administration is facing?
Number one, I will start with the broad-based arrangement. That is a kind of game, and now it's coming to pass, and I'm very happy with what is going on. Ruto has just played a Machiavelli on them, and they have just dropped, and the ODM is no longer a party that one wants to associate itself with, because it's associating itself with corruption. It has been corrupt from the time when Raila was there, when some few individuals used to peg their trust on Raila and sing around, getting it as a game of Monopoly. Now they have come about and they're crying about, they are now talking of zoning. Ruto, I'm telling you, because now I'm the second in command. Raila passed, I've taken over from Raila. I'm telling you, as the president of this country, do not listen to this nonsense of zoning. The constitution is very clear. Anyone can run anywhere in this country. So that one, Ruto, I'm advising you, do away with zoning. Number two, I'm also praising you in a way. They're the ones who have joined you. They're the ones crying to join Ruto. You have made them sing your song. There, you have scored that one. This now is a scorecard for Ruto. I think I'm also going to put it out clearly that regardless of what people are saying, Ruto has used a very ingenious rhetoric and mathematics of taming these fellows. And now the true values of the so-called ODM, people like Kaluma coming up and saying that they will now walk out of ODM. Let them walk out, there will be another member of parliament. Whether that member will be a member of Roots Party or UDA or Kalonzo's party, welcome that. And I'm welcoming that in terms of what have you. But then when now we go to the opposition of which I belong, how are they called?
The United Opposition, alternative government.
Yeah. I think they are also because they were not on the ballot. I was, and they don't know how to run for a president. They are trying to. I think I differ with this gentleman because of their non-policy approach. Niliwaambia kwamba kaeni chini, form a secretariat, come up with a policy, go to the members of public, solicit their views, let us discuss issues.
Yeah.
They resorted to going into a cinema kind of approach. Wanakaa mikutano zao kwa maofisi, wanaunda vile watachukua hii nchi, mmoja atakuwa prime minister, mmoja atakuwa hivi, alafu in the afternoon wako kwa rooftop. What are they talking about? Ruto. They just made Ruto a very powerful man. Talk about issues. The abuse of Ruto, that one I refuse. We in Roots Party don't subscribe to Ruto. If I'm abusing Ruto every day, and his son was my schoolmate at the Kenya School of Law, how do you think his son will feel like? I'm talking of Nick. Let's not go individual. Let's not abuse. Oh, Ruto amekonda, Ruto anakufa. Can you compare Ruto to Mbuzi? Really? I think Ruto needs to crack the whip. If I was the president, I will not take that kind of nonsense. Then I'm not saying that I'm supporting Ruto. Let reality come out. First of all, some of these fellows should declare their wealth. How did they amass this wealth? Who is funding them in these meetings? What difference will there be between them and Ruto? I would rather single out Kalonzo. Kalonzo is approachable. Kalonzo is somebody I can work with. Now, if you come to Gachagua, Gachagua is becoming a kingpin. How do we call them? A warlord. He's just coming up with the metrics of a warlord. It's me, my tribe. Me, my tribe. But what you are not telling Kenyans is that if you go that route, Kikuyus have been in power for how long? Really? How many tribes do you have in this country? Why do you have to divide this country? Why are you putting Kikuyus in a very bad position? Why are you creating a hate for the Kikuyu community? I have a daughter from the Kikuyu community. I have no issues with the Kikuyu community. Sasa Akorino kwenda State House, umekuja kusema walienda bila idhini yako. That is really wrong. We are not going that direction, and Wajackoyah is not going to be part of it. We need a Kenyan system whereby a Mijikenda can also come out and say, mimi ni Mijikenda, munipigie kura. Si ati uko na kura ngapi? Wewe, lete hii. Hiyo nimekataa. Please, Gachagua, I'm here to see you and I'm coming to see you if you want to. Just to tell you one thing. Lower your rhetoric down. Lower your rhetoric. You are a leader. We accept you. You have shown us what we didn't see before, but abuse will not result into anything. Wewe unatukana Ruto kwa nini? Why do you abuse Ruto kila siku? Now, Ruto also refrain from answering. Refrain also from abusing people. I was abused by my running mate for almost 1 year. Did I answer her back? No. Where is she now? Nowhere. Therefore, don't actually respond unless it's necessary. Kibaki never responded to foolishness. And Kibaki's legacy is there to stay. But then when it comes now to people making a decision, we are the change. Let them actually talk to us. I'm talking to people now. I'm not making noise. We're finding out issues, discussing with the people. Look at me. If you want to vote for me, fine. If you don't want to vote for me, vote for danger. The way you voted for Ruto. Ruto has now brought us in a mess. Is opening roads let me dissect a little bit. Roads that have never been completed. I also want to see Ruto going to open the road that he has completed. Not to kufungua na promises za uongo.
Yeah, Professor, I want us to look at for the country to be on a trajectory that is moving forward, historical injustices have to be addressed. And this has to go back from who stole what from the citizens. You know, we can't say that we are prosecuting those who stole today and not go back to where the mess started. Kenyans want to see a complete change in terms of our problems started here, we are here moving forward, we have addressed all these problems. But that notwithstanding, there is also the question on the table on what's the agenda. We have the united opposition pushing their agenda, the government pushing the agenda as well. But what agenda exactly is on the table? Because Kenyans today are saying we want healthcare that is working. We want to be assured of our security. We want it to be affordable for us to be in the country. We want to be told on the matters to do with debt in the country, because I, for example, I don't want to leave my grandchild paying for debt that never helped me in one way or the other. So in terms of agenda that is being pushed today, do you think the political class is understanding the needs of Kenyans and working with them towards that? Or is it about what the political class want and that Kenyans should just follow?
That's exactly what I started with, which draws to my manifesto. I have a manifesto. I'm trying to talk it out. I'm telling Kenyans, these are the issues we are facing. Let us see what we can do. Let us discuss it together. Let's come out with a conclusion. For example, now, issues of counties. We have too many counties in this country. We have governors. Governors are stealing. In fact, 90% of governors are not coming back, because if you look at how they are behaving with monies, with stakeholders who are borrowing, who are providing services to the county government, you find out that county government are a thing that I will have to rethink again. We need Kenya to be divided into regions so that we have easy access to development to the lower cadre of Kenyans. Our manifesto on that is we revert back to the old provinces so that we have 8 states, and then we leave counties within. Counties within the regions. For example, I've always talked about this. We have issues of resource instrumentalities. Resource instrumentalities means that if you have Nakuru as the capital city of Rift Valley, then we could have a prime minister in Rift Valley, just like we have cantons in Switzerland, just like we have regions in Nigeria. And then they will have their own parliament, and the counties will be within the state. For example, now Narok County produces wheat. It produces, it's a water tower, catchment tower. Narok County is a source of tourism because of the wild beasts and elephants and what have you. Narok County is also a human resource area. So if we have Narok County sitting as a county now, the legislative assembly in Narok County, they will look at what kind of revenues they have collected, and then a fraction of that revenue into the most needed areas of development, especially in terms of logistics, schools, hospitals, and what have you. Then they will vote for a certain fraction to be taken to Nakuru state, where the state also will look into the needs of the state, and then the state will allocate what the central government would require on their blueprint. For example, now when it comes to issues of instrumentalities, let me say a road passing through Narok to Bomet, Nakuru County will sit down, Nakuru government will sit down and say, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to have a national road? Because that will come, national instrumentalities will come from the government, and they will give specifications. So what kind of instrumentalities have we been given? If you have to build a highway, does it meet the specifications of the national government requirement? And then how do we apportion revenue for that? How do we account through taxation? Do you have a 3-tier kind of taxation? Taxation in Narok County, state taxation, and then national taxation to collect revenue so that we can actually equitably distribute this revenue through the counties, which will make us also go to another step of doing away with the CDF, because that is a resource which is never properly accounted for. You see members of parliament abusing CDF, yet their work is to oversight not to become distributors. That's why corruption is embedded. And when Raila was saying this, we discussed with Raila, and also the opinion that Mzee, kindly, let's do away with the CDF. So if we have that kind of infrastructure, and we have now instrumentalities passing from one county to another county, from one state to another state, then we shall equalize, whereby Narok will be given the autonomy to legislate on the local necessities, like road transport, car registration. Somebody will be very proud of saying that I'm from Nakuru with a Nakuru car plate, like what happens in Nigeria. But in this country, things have gone upside down. Ruto talked of bottom up, but he's doing top down mechanism. Now, when it comes to issues of agriculture, I've spoken of hemp. Hemp grows only for 4 months. You don't need insecticide. You don't need, because of its nature, antibacteria, we don't need fertilizer. It grows for 4 months. Then it can be processed and exported. And if you look at the figures here in terms of billions, I don't know whether you can give me some. You'll find out that we would earn billions out of that, of hemp production, and that will also be pumped into national development. The president will never, the constitution will also bar the president from opening the ghost projects. That will be the work of a local MP or a local MCA, what have you. So our structures on national development is based on that. Number two, we are also coming up and saying, Nairobi is congested. Let us decongest Nairobi and make it a financial city. Let's build a new city in a place like Isiolo. The proximity of Isiolo, between Isiolo and Ethiopia, corridor, Somali, North Sudan, and then the rich agricultural environment around the mountain will be a thing of the past. We harvest miraa, we harvest flowers, we put them in, we take them to Isiolo International Airport and export them instead of driving and causing mayhem on the road coming here. So we said our city, we shall shift the city to Isiolo and also shift the parliamentarians. Parliament should be removed from Uhuru Highway, either Ijengwe Nakuru, proper devolution of administration, ama ipelekwe Isiolo. Why would we have Minister of Agriculture with offices in Nairobi? What for? We should have those offices like livestock, Minister of Livestock. Wacha tupeleke Maralal, ndio tuone what to do. So our work is, like, for example, in terms of administration, let us break Kenya into 8 environments. In terms of infrastructure, in terms of the capital city, in terms of waterway, in terms of transportation, issues of identity cards, issues of voters card, wacha watu wakienda kuchukua ID cards, wapewe voters cards to minimize so that Kenyans can be given the right to.
And perhaps, Prof, as we continue, speak to those who might question the practicality of your ideas, because you tried your stab at the presidency. Kenyans didn't go with you. They decided to take another route. What makes you so sure that this time round you have the ideas that will get Kenyans out of the comfort of their homes to actually vote for you come 2027? And even as you tell the opposition to focus on issues, what issues are you propagating for when it comes to the health sector, when it comes to the education sector? Why should Kenyans trust you this time round? And it's good ideas about hemp, but there seems to be a negative connotation whenever we talk about hemp or bangi or whatever. This hasn't changed. It's still an illegal substance in the country. How do we change the narrative to see the positives so perhaps we don't throw the baby with the bathwater, as they say?
First of all, you have raised 3 issues. One is on education. I'm going to speak on that. One is on health care. I will speak on that. And one is on hemp. I will start with the hemp one. Okay. And I wish to refer you to the current market insights of the hemp production. You'll find out that the global hemp seeds market size was valued at USD 442 million in 2024. $442 million. The market projected to grow from 472 million in 2025 to 703 million by 2032, exhibiting a CAGR of 7.0 during the forecast period. Now, that is just one element that the global markets on hemp are projecting, especially to those countries that are relying on hemp, that have improved their economic development and production. Now, when we go to the hedge of understanding, obviously we are now talking to religious organizations because we wanted to let them know that hemp was not for smoking. I personally have never smoked a cigarette since I was born. I don't even eat meat. We are trying to tell the Kenyans that, look, let's look at the success stories in countries where hemp production has been a success. For example, if you look at the clothes I'm wearing today, this suit is purely hemp from a Canadian company.
Okay.
You can Google. It's about $3,000. That's money. If you look at my shirt, you can feel it. This is purely hemp.
Yeah.
Purely hemp. If you look at my shoes and socks, that's purely hemp. Why did I have to go to this level of buying something very expensive? I wanted actually to tell Kenyans that this is what I meant. I did not mean this. And if you look at hemp also, we have hemp which is for medicinal purposes. Cancer cure is by hemp. We had COVID, which was cured by a drug which was manufactured by Pfizer through hemp. If you go to South Africa today, most of the cancer patients in Kenya are flown to South Africa for treatment. And what is it that treats them? Medicine they're using is hemp. Yes. Now, when you leave that, because of the issue of awareness, creation of awareness, with which we are now doing with the limited resources, let me refer you back to the education system. What is our goal? What is our achievement? What do we intend as Roots Party to do in terms of education? We shall revert back to the Kenyatta One administration. The Kenyatta One administration education policy was borrowed successfully by Russia. It was also borrowed by England, where the colonial masters came in, whereby the 1 to 7, from 1 to Form 4, Form 5 and Form 6, with a kind of curriculum that was contended by that particular time. You'll find out that academics who are produced during that particular time are the ones that are leading the world, including the likes of Obama's father, who was taken to the US through the Tomboya projection. Now, if you look at the current curriculum system in this country, it is a burdening curriculum system. If you look at CBC is a good project, but it's not ripe for us because of lack of resources and infrastructure. Let us find out what we can do so that we don't put our kids in the streets very early in the morning. You find little kids going to school. They stay in school up to evening. What are they learning? They're learning the history of Queen Victoria, besides other things. What do we have to do with Queen Victoria, Prince Charles, Shakespeare? What kind of language, what kind of mentoring are we trying to mentor these kids into? Speak English, be like an Englishman, or go to school and learn, be inserted with an ideology of production, whereby a kid goes to school, like what happens in Japan, is taught about vehicles by being introduced to toys. He's taught about building by being introduced to toy building, so that he grows up with a mind of independent entrepreneurship. We shall also look into the technicalities. The technical aspect of education is key to development rather than building up. Like now we have got over 2 million Kenyans who have finished Form 4. What are they doing? What kind of education system have they passed through? Education should not be fundamental. It should be a privilege. If you look at the United States Constitution, the First Amendment gives it as a privilege. A parent can sit home and teach his kids and nurture his kids into his customs, like what do the Muslim societies do, or communities from there, so that a kid should know about Islam, about respecting family, before he goes into tertiary kind of education. So we are looking at the old system of education, plus the modernized technical part of education, and we can look at the success stories like Japan and Korea and Singapore. Now, when it comes to healthcare, and that's where I am, because I'm also a researcher in that area, you'll find out that I will also revert back to the Kenyatta One administration. The healthcare system, theories healthcare practicalities in those days were as follows. It was one doctor per sublocation, and one veterinary doctor per sublocation. You'll find out that we also have maternity matrons who are visiting tourist areas, so that if somebody was arrested by an issue, doctors were there to treat and to prevent what have you. So we found out that in 1967, Fidel Castro sent a group of physicians to Kenyatta, to Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, to study about our healthcare. And that's the blueprint that he copied and put in press. And Britain, NHS, National Health Fund, NHF Fund, when they sent us to Cuba, we borrowed what Cubans were doing, and that's what is working in Britain.
Yep.
Yet the whole thing emanated from Kenya. So as a scholar and as a person who has been involved, we shall revert back. We shall also have affordable insurance, but with the introduction of hemp production, healthcare should be free and education should be free, because a citizen of this country is a citizen of the country, is a product of the government, is owned by the government, and the government ought to take care of that person until the age of maturity.
Professor, we listen to the promise that you give, the solutions that you offer. Unfortunately, Kenyans find themselves in a position where to trust a politician is very difficult because of the history that has been there. Because earlier in the morning, we talked about the promises vis-a-vis implementation, and it's zero. So with all these promises, Kenyans are asking, but how do I trust you? How do I believe in the current position where the country finds itself that you will deliver on everything else that you're saying? What makes you different from everyone?
Yeah, because Wajackoyah is a different person, and I've been designed and prescribed by a lot of people in different way. They have called me a mad person. Yes, everybody has got some degree of madness. They have called me this, they have called me that. They even said I never went to school. I had to fight to go back to Nairobi University just to fulfill the egos of other people. Let them look at me. Let them look at my history. Let them look at where I am at the moment. And the rest is them to decide. If they want to vote for me, fine. If they do not want to trust me, let them trust somebody else. It's their choice.
But that notwithstanding, then how do we deal with Kenyans today to look at a political class not as individuals who are unreachable, but to understand that the power belongs to them? Because unless Mwananchi looks at the power that I do have and I exercise that right in donating it to Mwananchi, to the politicians who are asking for our votes, then they would understand how critical they are in the entire equation. How do we communicate to Mwananchi today to understand the Constitution, what it means, the power they do have, and the role of the political class in serving them?
Actually, the best way of answering that question is to go to the Genesis. Kenya has now become very easy. You have Genesis who are informed. Let them decide and let them actually enroll for votes. Let them run, and let them join the political system. And through them, this country will change. I personally cannot change on my own. Let Kenyans decide. When it comes to issues of lies, yes, politicians lie, promise things they are not supposed even to promise, do things to gravitate towards the presidency so that they can be seen to be more loyal than what have you. Let Kenyans just rub them off. In fact, the majority of Kenyans today have learned that a lot of us tell lies, and that's why they are doing what they are doing. And the demonstrations that are ongoing, I actually support them, because demonstrations are actually enshrined in the constitutions. But if the country does not want to listen, let them keep on. One day they will find themselves in a mess that they will never want to come out with. I'm not abrogating for the overthrow of the government or what have you, but let me tell you one thing. One day, the very, very people will be marched naked in the streets to account to Kenyans. And I will promote and tell Kenyans to ask these people not to wait to be promised lies. Let them follow the Constitution, where they can take the law into their hands. They are protected by the preamble of the Constitution. They can make decisions favorable to the nation. We cannot keep on being suppressed by 10% of the population just because the Constitution says so. If somebody steals, what do you do? You take him to the courts, the cases take forever. The very, very judges whom I don't believe in, and I have no single shinjil of believing in